We know Vikings as raiders, warriors, and explorers. Their names are written in sagas, etched into runes, and remembered for their battles. But what happened after the battle, the hidden aftermath reveals a side of history that is rarely told. When axes fell silent and shield walls broke, life did not simply continue. For some, the suffering ended with death on the battlefield. For others, survival meant entering a system meticulously designed to control, exploit, and silence them. For the women of conquered settlements, the Viking aftermath was worse than death itself. The sagas barely whisper what came next, and yet archaeology fills the gaps. Excavations across Ireland, Scotland, and England reveal iron shackles, ankle rings for children, and warehouse foundations for human cargo. Viking settlements were not just trading posts, they were processing centers for people. Imagine being a young woman ripped from your home, counted, priced, and moved like cattle. What choices could you have? None. Runic inscriptions indicate standard valuations. 20 silver pieces for a young woman, 15 for a mother, 10 if injured during capture. The inscriptions were carved in stone, etched in permanence. The Vikings treated people as property, but they did it systematically, legally, and efficiently. Patterns emerge in skeletal remains from settlements like Portmarnock and Dublin. Many women did not die in battle. They died in captivity. Trauma patterns suggest controlled punishment or methodical execution, showing that violence was not chaotic but structured. Bones tell the story. The chronicles omit. Viking law codes, such as the Georges from Iceland, codified these practices. Ownership had to be declared publicly, with witnesses. The captives had no voice, no choice, and no legal protection. Resistance, escape, even suicide considered theft of property was punished. In a world where law enforces brutality, survival is determined by your status and your value. Every captured woman faced a legal framework that treated her as property first, personhood second. Ritualized burials further reveal Viking beliefs. High status warriors were accompanied in death by possessions, horses, and sometimes women. Archaeological evidence indicates careful, standardized procedures, plant-based sedatives, or hallucinogens, controlled behavior, ensuring compliance. Female skeletons showed trauma consistent with planned executions, not battlefield chaos. Winter encampments and settlement layers reveal a chilling demographic pattern. Local women vanish, replaced by captives from distant lands. Dublin served as a hub, sending women from Ireland, Scotland, and Wales along established slave routes. Dendrochronology confirms decades of continuous trade, while runic logs list human cargo alongside furs, amber, and other commodities. The same hands that built shields, carved runes, and farmed fields also counted human lives as inventory. The Vikings engineered modular holding pens to transport people efficiently. Iron frameworks held chains for adults and children alike. Portable slave markets moved with armies, ensuring captives were always controlled. This was industrialized human management, not incidental brutality. Even after Viking expansion slowed, infrastructure persisted. Christian kingdoms inherited these systems. Monastery records show indentured servants appearing in large numbers. Terms and contracts changed, but the reality remained. Women remained property, managed, assigned, and exploited. Archaeology tells of preemptive eliminations. When Norse settlements fell, communities sometimes killed their own women to prevent capture. Mass graves at Repton reveal controlled executions of Norse women. Blunt trauma, poisoning, strangulation applied systematically. Fathers killed daughters, husbands killed wives. Imagine knowing that defeat meant the death of your own family by your own people to prevent worse fates at the hands of invaders. The terror was intimate, personal, and calculated. Runic inscriptions carved into skulls offer a haunting glimpse into Viking mindset. Better this way reads one message, a justification etched during execution. Even acts of murder were rationalized, formalized, and documented in the smallest ways. Historical records also show resistance. Women like Gunhild, a freed Norse captive, fought back. She led raids, destroyed Viking camps, and freed captives, using Viking methods against them. Archaeological burn layers and records suggest organized retaliation, proving that not all victims were powerless. The claiming of women continued into Norman England. Property assessments listed women alongside livestock and grain. Castle courtyards had holding cells designed specifically for women. Bone analysis reveals near total infant mortality in children born to forced unions policy, not neglect. Legal frameworks turned rape into property transfer, while church records documented births, sales, and profits. Across centuries, systems were built, los enforced, and prophets recorded, while silencing the people who suffered most. DNA evidence confirms the scale. Celtic and Saxon mitochondrial DNA appears in Scandinavian populations from the 9th century onward, tracing exact slave trade and breeding routes. These were not voluntary migrations or cultural exchanges. They were calculated, systemic, and deeply. Modern Icelandic populations carry 60% Celtic female lineage. Norwegian populations show 40% British Isles female ancestry. Thousands of women, thousands of pregnancies, thousands of children without known mothers. Maritime archaeology reveals purpose-built slave ships, ventilation systems, water storage, and modular cargo holds, designed for long voyages. One ship could transport 80 people, chained below deck, engineered for efficiency. Survivors were rare. Resistance often led to death. Excavations across Viking-controlled territories show repeated patterns, dedicated facilities, church involvement, record-keeping, and systematic human management. Profit, law, and brutality were intertwined. The system was industrial, calculated, and enduring. The Vikings' legacy was not only conquest, it was an organized, legal, and economic system of human exploitation, stretching across Europe for centuries. Even elite women were at risk. During defeats, communities executed their own to prevent capture. Soil cores, isotope analysis, and multi-layered graves revealed that these acts were planned, ongoing, and repeated over decades. Poisoning, trauma, and structured execution silenced witnesses before they could speak. From the Viking Age through Norman conquest, women's fates were dictated by property, power, and profit. Laws codified brutality. Church records profited from it. Archaeology exposes it. DNA confirms it. History, when read carefully, tells a story of control, survival, and the human cost of conquest. The women of defeated warriors endured fates worse than death-controlled. Methodical, legally sanctioned, and economically motivated. Their voices may have been silenced, but their stories survive in bones, records, and inscriptions, waiting for us to read between the lines. If this detailed, documented, and cinematic look into Viking society fascinates you, subscribe and comment below. Tell us what you think about the systems that governed life and survival during the Viking Age.